Do you ever feel nervous around women? The thought of approaching women scares you. Maybe even when you're on a date, you don't feel like you can fully be yourself. Well, in this video, I have one or two very effective strategies for you to dissolve nervousness. And the exercises that I want to give you today, they may seem so simple or maybe a little bit silly that you might not take them fully serious. But what I want to tell you is that they are based on cutting-edge neuroscience. It is something that I've learned from one of Germany's best psychologists. I'm not a psychologist, but I've been able to learn from him in person over the years quite a bit. So this is something that I want to share with you. And this goes way beyond the area of dating. Maybe you have a presentation that you have to give at work to business partners, investors, employees, to your managers. This is a really powerful tool, not just when it comes to the dissolution of nervousness, but all other undesirable emotions. On a little side note, when you feel negative emotions, they're almost always a sign that you should either change your actions or your perception. That being said, on a date, being nervous can prevent you from coming across as confident and presenting a calm and grounded vibe, which will, one, make her feel comfortable, and second, make her feel attracted to you as a result of you being confident. So what can you do when you're on the date and you feel this nervousness coming up, or at any point in time? Well, the worst thing you can do is to add a negative and self-defeating inner dialogue on top of the nervousness. Because the first thing you have to understand is nervousness is just energy. But if you label it a problem, oh no, I feel nervous, therefore I won't be able to perform. I feel nervous, therefore you get into your head. If you add a self-defeating, antagonistic inner dialogue on top of the sensation of nervousness, that's what's going to create the issue. Whatever you resist persists. So if you feel the nervousness, one of the most important things to do is either give it a positive and empowering meaning, or second, to just accept it within the space of loving awareness. So the first thing to understand is, it's energy. Oh, it's just energy, cool. And if you just understand its energy, all of a sudden, you're not in a battle with it anymore. You're not resisting it as much anymore. And you can just say, okay, cool, it's energy that is gonna help me come across in a more vibrant way. Because you don't want to be boring on a date either, do you? So just use it as energy. That's one. Second, just allowing yourself to become aware of the sensation of nervousness. How do you know you're nervous? You feel a tingling sensation, maybe a little bit of constriction in your chest, maybe your heart is beating, you're tensing your shoulders. There's a physiological reaction to it, and the more you become aware of it, the more you can just breathe. And as much as you want to focus on the lady on the date, you want to have 80% of your attention on her, you want to have 20% with yourself. And simply notice what's going on within you. That's why meditation is such a powerful practice. If you meditate for even just 20 minutes a day, then you can, one, quiet the mind, second, you can open the heart, and three, you can return back to yourself. Because whatever is going on around you can go on, but you're with yourself. And then obviously you still notice her. It's not like you're zoning out, you're still present with her. But you notice what's going on inside of you from a space of loving awareness. And it can't just be awareness, because sometimes we become aware of things that are going on inside of us, but in an antagonistic fashion. Like, oh, there's nervousness, I shouldn't feel nervous. Oh, there's a weak thought, I shouldn't have had that. Oh, what I just said wasn't cool. Oh, she didn't laugh about this. You have to refuse to live in an antagonistic relationship with yourself. You have to make a decision to be your own biggest fan. And so when you feel a sensation that you don't like, first of all, you can just label it. You can just say, okay, nervousness. And you just feel it. You just become aware of it. And you notice it's just a stimuli arising in consciousness. That's all it is. Even if it's just like the breath, tingling in the stomach. It's just a stimuli arising in consciousness. That's one. Now, another very powerful technique, other than meditation, which is something that you should, one, practice on the date, but also on an ongoing basis, is to dissociate. So the next time you feel nervousness, you can simply, in your head, say to yourself, David is a little nervous. Is David a little nervous? He's a little bit nervous, isn't he? And the second you talk about yourself in such a silly, playful way, you are dissociating from the suffering side. You're dissociating from the part that is anxious within you. You're not identified with it anymore. And thereby it doesn't have that much control over you. Same with anger. I'm angry. Oh, is David a little bit angry? Are you a little bit angry? Is David really, really angry? Is David throwing a temper tantrum? And thereby, you relate to the angry or the sad, frustrated, or the nervous side in you from a place of competence. Because this whole thing is about you feeling competent. Because I'm sure you've had that in life where sometimes the same challenge can seem overwhelming, and then in different moments when you feel a little bit different, it can seem absolutely easily manageable. Well, the only thing that changes is your mental and your emotional state, and that depends on the internal representations you have and how you relate to the fear. Do you let it take over your thinking? Or do you recognize and say, David is a little bit nervous, and you make fun of it. Nervousness. And remember, it's not just the content of your speech, but also the tonality. If you're at home alone, you can actually speak it out loud. If you're on the date, you can just have that in your head. Be like, nervousness, da-da-da-da-da, like a Donald Duck voice, a Mickey Mouse type of voice. Whichever one you want, that'll, in essence, act like a pattern interrupt. That's what it is. Pattern interrupt. That's a pattern interrupt, because you want to interrupt the pattern of nervousness, because while you're in it, you're not necessarily in a resourceful state that'll allow you to freely associate and create a man-to-woman connection and be intimate on the date in a respectful manner, obviously. So you talk to your side in a funny, playful way. The other way, a slightly different version of this dissociation, is to be actually loving. Because sometimes you can just tease yourself and that's fine, but sometimes you may actually need a little bit of warmth and loving awareness and just love from yourself. You can say, David is a little bit nervous. There's some fear. I see that. Hello, fear. Hello, nervousness. Thank you for your opinion. And now some people might say, he's crazy, he's talking to himself. You're talking to yourself all day long anyway. It's going on in there. So you might as well take conscious control over your inner dialogue and shape it in a more empowering way. Because that inner dialogue is taking place, whether you want it or not. But you can alter the tonality and the attitude. Because you have to keep in mind, one of the 3 pillars of our mental and emotional state, according to Tony Robbins' model, is our own inner dialogue. And one of the most important things when it comes to dating is how you speak to yourself. If you don't assume utter responsibility for reminding yourself in a gentle way on a daily basis to empower yourself, nobody else will. You have to become your own biggest fan. So if you feel nervousness, you can simply say, okay, nervousness. And that's what you do in meditation. Something comes up and you name it. Fear. The critical mind. Thank you for your opinion. I'd encourage you to check out Jack Kornfield on YouTube. In my opinion, probably the single best meditation teacher out there. So, 1, understand, nervousness is just energy. You're in a beautiful universe. Look at how beautiful this is here. It's just a form of energy that's available to you in that moment to become alive in relation to this woman on the date. Second of all, nervousness is very close to excitement. You can just consciously say, I must be excited too. See where things go. It's excitement. All of a sudden it's not a problem anymore, because whatever you resist persists. And if you don't resist it anymore, you allow it. All emotions have a half-life anyway. The second you just allow them to come up in a space of loving awareness, they will subside eventually. And then you can say, David is a little bit nervous, he's a bit nervous. Same thing when you get a rejection. I got rejected. It hurts. It really hurts to get rejected. And all of a sudden you can't take it too serious anymore. Whenever you find yourself being a little bit of a victim, being a little bit too harsh on yourself, use that. It's a very, very powerful tool. Now, if you want me to help you personally, find the right girlfriend, life partner, or wife, simply apply for a free initial consultation call. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.